Hello again, Lucas Catton here, and I, I just did a video yesterday that I posted, but I wanted to do this one today again, partially because I'm trying to catch up. Right, I had said when I started this that I was going to try and do one video a week, and I missed several weeks in a row. But also just another concept. I talked about writing a little bit yesterday, and what I'd been doing, and along the way, one of the things that I do is I read kind of a lot of different books at once because I'll go into one for a little bit. Maybe it's some type of business related book, or another one is like a personal improvement book, or a spiritual book, or some other kind of nonfiction. Pretty much all of it's nonfiction for me. But along this process, I get hit with different things, and sometimes the right thing at the right time comes up for me. And one of these things was in Brene Brown's book, Rising Strong, the concept of uh, what she calls a shitty first draft, or an SFD. And and it applied to me right now, not only because as I was writing and trying to work on this book, that it really was a shitty first draft, but more to the point of what she talks about is the stories that we tell ourselves in things that we deal with in life on a daily basis, and especially those that are sometimes more difficult, or things that happened in our past that we're still trying to reconcile, or have a reckoning, and that shitty first draft is kind of funny because our initial reaction, especially at times where we're hurt, or if we feel like we've been wronged in some way, is immediately to lash out at the other person, or group, or whatever the situation itself, and not be able to own our own responsibilities in the matter. The decision to move forward with something that we knew probably shouldn't have been the right thing at the right time, but we did it anyways. Or, on the opposite end is not doing something that deep down we knew we should have done, or should have followed, or listened to ourselves or our intuition more. And that gut feeling that comes in play, that so many of us discard because we then start to get into this type of thinking up here, and it's not the same as the feeling, and when our thinking and feeling can match up, or our hearts and minds start to connect, then we have, in many cases, a lot less of those SFDs to reconcile. Um, and as I'm trying to go back and look at some of those things, and really take a look at being honest with myself, or being honest with ourselves about what it was, what our intentions were, being able to forgive ourselves for mistakes that we may have made, having certainly compassion for ourselves, and of course others, and displaying empathy. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to turn out right necessarily, but it can be resolved. It can be resolved. And that's part of what I'm working on now, is finding some resolution with things, and writing is such an integral way for me to be able to do that. And so sometimes journaling for people can be a wonderful outlet, and sharing your story, or stories, with maybe just yourself. Maybe it's just for you to read. Maybe there's someone else that you share it with, or maybe there's a lot of people you share it with in different ways. But those initial drafts, that shitty first draft, get it out of your head, get it down on paper, but then look at it and go, is this really my truth that this is speaking to? Or is it some other story, or some other person's story that I'm trying to live up to, or what is, what's real here? And I think that once we get to that point, and we can take a look at and separate ourselves from the stories that we tell initially to what really is, we can get to a point where we are being honest, we are able to share, we do feel better, and yet we're not walking around with a bunch of blame or a chip on our shoulder, or anything like that. Forever sadness, these kinds of things. All of these are natural and part of living, but they don't have to stick around forever. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents for today. What's your SFD that you might be able to get out of the way and move on to some truth? Thanks.